So, like I said, white or light colors, very dense stuff like bone, right? And then dark colors, air or liquid. Grays are different tissues, and the darker they are, the more loose and soft they are. The lighter the color, the more kind of, again, dense and solid they are. So she has that thing, horizontal cross section, looking at it from this side this way, with me laying down, and it's mostly black. It's a big circle, and it's mostly black with an edge with a border. It's a clear encased circle, and there's something inside of it that is gray, varying types of gray, and there's a lot of black, meaning liquid. So she says one of the funniest things I've ever heard. She's holding it there, and she goes, okay, look at the liquid. And I go, all right. She goes, fix your eyes on it. I go, okay. She goes, I'm going to shake you. It's like, what? I'm going to shake you. So she's got me on the table like this. She goes, I'm going to shake you, and I want you to look at what you see in the liquid. And I was like, okay. She goes, and she shakes her hand a little. She goes, like a little, and I look, and I see particulates floating around. I see little bits, little dots going, getting unsettled, like silt in a riverbed, right? Getting kicked up. And I'm like, what is that? She goes, do you see that? You see some of them look like little strips, little scraps. Some of them look like little dots. I was like, yeah. She goes, that's blood. She leans into me and she goes, you're filled with blood. I was like, what? she leaned in and said, you're filled with blood. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm filled with blood? Now, at the time, horrifying. Looking back, that was funny as fuck. I was like, what do you mean I'm filled with blood? And the way she said it, too, the way she leaned in really close and said, you're filled with blood. I was like, what? It was so funny. It was so funny. I was filled with blood. Those little scraps and those little particulate bits were apparently, like the bits of coagulated blood that kind of chunked together. And she was like, most of this liquid is going to be blood. And I was like, okay. Why? Why? And what is this? Yeah, and what do I do? Okay, I'm filled with blood. What do I do? So she says, well, we don't know what all of this liquid is, but, it's clearly like a lot of it's blood. I was like, okay. And then she says, but what I'm more concerned about is this solid thing in here. This solid thing. And now the cool thing with ultrasounds is you can actually measure stuff using it. When you look at it at a lot of different angles, you can triangulate things and you can get a proper measurement. Now, we had been suspecting this a long while before this, but at this point, she's like, I'm going to send you to an oncologist, and we're going to get you fully looked at. We're going to do full blood panels, which we had already kind of done, but we're going to do everything, because at this point, we're like, what else could this be? What else could this be? So we're like, this has got to be cancer. Has to be. What else? What else could it be? Especially looking at the MRI, when you look at the makeup of the tumor, normally when a tumor is like on the MRI all the same color, all the same kind of density, it's all one type of tissue. That's just a normal benign thing. That happens. Things just grow. It happens. This one was complex. So we are now fully like sending me to an oncologist. We're like, this has got to be cancer. We should treat it like it is. And if it isn't, this is still the person to go to treat it either way. Like, this is still the right surgeon for this thing, no matter what, because everything about the surgery is the same, even if that's not what the cells actually are. So I go, and we do everything, and we do a consultation. And I talk to my surgeon, and he's like, well, we got to get this out of you, but we can't rupture it. He was like, yeah, you're not my ideal surgery candidate, is what he said. And I was like, I know. He said, but your weight's also a good thing, because the more weight you have on you, the worse problems you have with recovery sometimes as well in other ways. So, there are good and bad things here. He was being really nice, but he also wasn't sugarcoating it. I was like, all right, well, do we just do that? Like, is that it? We just have to do that? And he said, well, I know this guy. He tells me about his friend, who's also another great surgeon for oncology and all sorts of like pelvic area and lower abdominal area issues. He goes, I've got a guy who normally you can never get in with, because this guy's a really good surgeon and he's booked out He's completely booked up. And he said, but your case is really bad. So I'm going to ask him if he will take you because he is really good at doing surgeries, not this way, in other ways that are easier to recover from. And I was like, give me his number. Let's talk to him. Let's go. I look up his accolades. He's really good. He's really good. Yeah, thankfully my case was really fucking bad. So the guy was like recommending me to his genius friend or whatever. So I look through and the guy is really good. And he has a lot of really, really good stuff behind him. And so I'm like, you know what? This guy literally specializes in freak cases like mine, where it's like, and mine was, you know, a giant cyst, literally classified as giant on paper. They wrote the word giant for its category, you know? And this guy just does these types of surgeries a lot. This is his bread and butter. And I was like, okay, I would like to go to the guy who's done this more than other people, because not many people have operated on one this large. And I don't want to go to the guy who's done it once or twice. I want to go to the guy that is like, wow, I love doing this specific thing. And people fly in to see him, you know? So I'm like, okay. Yeah, like half my weight, exactly. So I go to this dude, and he was like, okay, this dotted line all the way down the middle, we can do this. This is plan B. I'm going to try my plan A, which I'll tell you in a second, but this is plan B. If it doesn't go well, we will swap to this mid-surgery and do it to make sure it gets out of you whole, right? I was like, okay. He said, but here's plan A. He said, we're going to make a lot of incisions around it and one down the middle in like the belly button area, which is a typical way that they do surgery because you don't really have much muscle behind it, so it's a little easier to get through. But he's like, we're going to do a lot of incisions around it, and we're going to try to do it laparoscopically. And I was like, how? There's no room. And he was like, trust and believe. So they wanted to do it laparoscopically, but the thing is, normally laparoscopic surgery, which is when they get in there with tools through tiny incisions and cameras and things, they do it with like 2 or 3 incisions. He was like, we're going to have to do it with a lot, but trust me, it's going to be so much easier for you to recover from than doing a full open one. And I was like, you know what? I believe that. I actually do believe that. You know, yeah, because both are bad. And he was like, I'm so sorry it's so many incisions, but you know, both of these cases are terrible, so I'm going to do the one that's less bad. I said, okay. Thank God they were able to do plan A. And the way they did the surgery was they did a lot of incisions around the thing, stuck tools in, removed all the adhesions. That took fucking forever. And the dude was doing it. Apparently the camera footage, normally when you do laparoscopic surgery, they pump some air in you so that they have room to work. They put air in me, but they couldn't see shit. They couldn't see shit because there's no room. There's no room. Like, where's the air even go? But he did what he could and spent a really long time and went really slowly. Removed all the adhesions, so it was now free floating. So they had to, like, remove the fallopian tube and a chunk of the uterus to kind of get that cleanly off. That wasn't hard. They do that all the time. Whatever, you know, sew that up. Boom. Functions fine. So they do that, and it is now free floating. Free floating and not attached to anything. So they do an incision through the middle, through the belly button, and they shove a plastic bag in there. A plastic bag. And put the bag around it and then pull the ends of the bag back out the hole. So the cyst is still in me, but there's a bag around it, and the only opening of the bag is coming out of my middle incision. So they could do whatever they need to do. They could pop that shit. Doesn't matter. It's not going to spill out into the body cavity, right? So then he pops that shit, drains it, takes it apart, pulls it out of a tiny hole, and gets it out that way. So my body does not get exposed to whatever's in there. And that's how they did the surgery, which worked out. Now, I was a little upset because I really wanted to keep it if they took it out whole, and he promised me that if they did plan B, I was going to keep it. But they did plan A, and they took it out in pieces, so I didn't get to keep it. I was like, man, I wanted to do the formaldehyde jar on the mantle, you know, like display it, like, look at him. I even named it. I had a whole thing for it. But, you know, whatever. We didn't get to keep him. That's okay. He wasn't really alive anyway. He didn't have a good blood supply, so whatever. On. Nagi messaged me saying she thought she wasn't allowed to raid for some reason. Someone must have said something to her in chat. Say, no worries. I was just talking about... Maggie. I think some chatters when she rated were like, no, she's talking about health, it's a bad time, which was like not at all the vibe. But yeah, he has one ball too. This is the ongoing joke, Heavenly. I have been saying on stream, I've been saying to my friends, to my family for the longest time that I have one ball. And people on stream are like, why do you keep saying that? People in chat would be like, can you stop? Because they didn't know. They didn't know. Yeah, I have one ball. And that's why when I had my Manscaped sponsorship, I'm gonna be like, guys, take care of your balls. As you know, I only have one. Like, they were like, stop it. You don't have balls. I only have one, guys. All right? Don't get it twisted. Anyway, now that ads are over, moral of the story, well, not moral of the story, but in the end, I thought I was going to die. All of my medical staff told me I probably was going to make it, so I quit my really good job and then just streamed and became anime, and then I miraculously did not die, and now I'm stuck in this body, and I can't get out. Help. Somebody please save me. I can't get out. No, seriously, I can't get out. The suit won't come off. I think it's fusing. I think it's fusing! Someone cast a hex upon me. I think that's what happened. I think I wronged someone, and they cast a hex upon me, and they doomed me to a life of being anime.